What up, you guys? It is your favorite author and author coach, Katie Selman. And as promised, we're getting ready to dive deep into a free course where we're going to go into my workbook that's called Shut Up and Finish Your Book Already. This workbook was designed to get you to identify the lie that's been holding you back so that way you can find some tips and some tricks to get past that so we can turn you into a published author. That way you can stop telling all your friends about what you gon' do and actually do it. So let's jump into it. Now, if you do not have your copy of my free workbook, we're going to pause right here so we can get you up to speed. So what I need you to do is go to katie.com and you're going to see a pop-up box come up as soon as you get up there. And it's going to say, I like to give away free stuff and have an area where you can put your email. I need you to put your email in that box and select or click on submit. Once you do that, you will receive an email from me, and that email will contain a link with the area where you can download your free copy of the workbook. So that way you have it in front of you. You can type it in, you can print it out, you can write it in. This is really great to keep it somewhere where you can actually see it. That's a wonderful way to keep yourself accountable because you're always seeing it, right? So if you're always seeing it, it's something that eventually you're going to start acting on instead of just talking about. Anyway, so once you have your copy, let's go ahead and dive in together so we can get this thing finished. Stop talking about it. Shut up and finish your book already. 3 easy steps so you can start today. By best-selling author, Katie Selman. That's me, y'all. Shut up. As an author and author coach, I'm a magnet for the phrase, I want to write a book, but. I hear it so many times a day in my everyday life and at shows and conferences that I've lost my ability to pretend to be interested anymore. That is why I'm standing up for everyone everywhere. Your friends that are actually writers have no desire to hear about you babble on about something that you're only going to talk about. Your spouse, dentist, kids, the random person you spoke with at the bookstore, and your mama, yes, I brought her into this, don't want to hear about it anymore. They are ready to see the finished product. I know that statement was super rude, but I'm okay with you disliking me for a moment if that means you'll shut up and finish your book already. Before I finished my first novel, Charge It to the Game, I spent almost a decade telling those around me that I was going to write a great book one day. Even though I didn't have any experience, I was confident that I had a story worth telling. Then, every time I sat down at my computer to write, my mind would feed me a list of lies. You're taking away from quality time with your kids to do this. You're a terrible mom. No one is going to read this anyway, so you're just wasting your time. You don't even know what you're doing. Just give up already. You know what happened as a result of poor planning and allowing myself to believe some of those lies? I quit. Every book I started writing during that time went on to become an empty promise, something that is still sitting in a random word folder just collecting electrical dust. I don't want that for you. I don't want you mentally tearing yourself down through this process, and I certainly don't want you leaving amazing stories untold. It's because of my years of experience that I'm confident that I've entertained every lie possible to avoid finishing a book. My goal is to help you identify which one is holding you back so you can get a plan in place for you to succeed this time. Writing a book is a mental marathon. There will be days that the words will flow out of you. You'll be unstoppable. Then there will be days that this process will leave you worn out, hopeless, and just plain ready to quit. It's just the nature of the beast. This is my 6th book, and I still experience those low days of throwing in the towel, but I've learned to equip myself with the tools needed to get this done. The statement that follows, I want to write a book, but, is always an excuse. I don't care how elaborate, fancy, or eloquent your justification is. The truth is, you're allowing fear to hold you back from your dreams. You've allowed yourself to get comfortable in a lie, and now you're forcing others to be held captive there with you. Well, not anymore. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You can't keep telling yourself and others about your great ideas and never doing anything to get it done. You're going to have to change some things within your daily routine in order to accomplish your goals. Just talking about it isn't going to cut it anymore. I can give you all the tools and motivational quotes I have within me, but if you don't put in the hours needed to get it done, it won't happen. It's just that simple. To kick this off, we're going to get started in discovering the lie that is holding you captive. Then we'll get some tools in place to help you during those times when you feel like quitting. To end it off, we will create a concrete plan to get you started today. Every single quote unquote rational reason why someone can't finish a book falls into one of 5 categories. They are: I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the resources, or I'm scared. Because I've been doing this a long time, I've recognized 3 easy steps that can help you finally finish your book. In the first step, we're going to identify the lie that has been holding you back. The reason this is important is because once you know what you are fighting, it helps you fight against it. For example, once you know the fear holding you back, it makes it easier for you to combat that with tips that I'll share with you. In the second step, we're going to figure out your why behind this project. I'm not going to lie to you. Writing a book is really hard. You'll need to know this in order to fight those thoughts and excuses that'll pop up while you're working on achieving your goals. Finally, in the last step, we are going to start planning your book. This is crucial because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I know it's not in the book, but I just feel like I need to say it one more time in case you didn't understand it. But if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's that simple. Also, once you've taken the time to really start planning, all you have to do is fit everything together like a puzzle piece. It makes everything else so much easier for you. I'm super excited for you, and I can't wait to see your final project. Remember, once you've published, I would love to know about it. Please check out my website, katie.com, to share what obstacles you had to overcome and how these tips have helped you in the process. XO, Katie Selman. So I hope y'all liked the little letter I wrote for y'all or whatever. But that's just really my genuine feelings. I want you to succeed in this. I read an article once that said that there's like 80% of Americans want to tell a story or feel like they have a story within them. That's crazy that so many people have a story within them, yet they're not doing it. So what we're about to do right now is jump into the very next page. It's titled "Anything After I Want to Write a Book But is an Excuse, period." I need you to say that over and over until it's something that really clicks in your mind, where you realize that you can't keep saying, I want to write a book, but you have to remove that from your vocabulary, period, if we're going to finish this. So this is going to be something that you're going to want to write down. Again, you may want to put this somewhere important for you so that you do not miss this, so that you always have this in your face, so that we can really push past this time. It's time to stop talking about it. We're in a season right now where some of us have ample time. Some of us may need to be in therapy and we're not. And so we can allow this writing time to be therapeutic for us. So let's jump into this and actually get this accomplished, okay? So even the most experienced writer has a tendency to fall for some of the lies that come in their mind as they are pursuing their dreams. Take the time to list some of the lies that you have believed through this process. Also, take some time to list why you have chosen to believe them. This is really important. And if this is not enough space for you, I really encourage you to even add on to this. Maybe print this page a second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, depending on how many lies you've believed about yourself, about being inadequate, or telling yourself that nobody's going to want to read your story, because I promise you, there is nothing new under the sun. Someone needs to hear your story, whether it's a fiction story, whether it's, you revealing how to make the best, balloon animals, whatever the book idea that you have within yourself, we need to just accomplish that and get that out. So when you know what's holding you back, again, we know how to fight that thing. We know what we're facing. So list all of those lies that have been holding you back. And again, take the time to think why you've believed them. So for example, for someone like myself, when I was a single mom starting this process, I said I couldn't do it because I didn't have the money. And the reason I believed that lie is because my bank account was reflective that, I really can't afford to do this, even though it's something I really want to do. But when I really took the time to look even further into that, I said, Hey, I'm not budgeting. There's some money around here where I can move it a little bit differently to invest in myself. And look what that turned out to be, right? So that's why I need you to think about that lie. And we're going to keep breaking it down even further until we take it down to the smallest little being that it can be. So you realize how little that giant has been for you. You realize how little it actually is. And then we can figure out how to fight it moving forward. I want to write a book, but I don't have the money. You may not have the money, but there are platforms that allow you to publish your book for free. That's right. My favorite F word can help you eliminate that excuse. You can get an ISBN, barcode, and cover for free so you can publish your story. There are tools available to help you edit and format your book without paying a single dime. Now, we all know you get what you pay for, but there are plenty of authors who take advantage of this and use this to create another source of income for themselves. I was one of them for a while. While this is an avenue that you can take, I wouldn't be a very effective coach if I didn't try to stretch you a little. Is the truth that you don't have the money, or are you scared to invest in something that you aren't sure will succeed? I've spent money in worse ways. So it made it easier for me to decide to pay for a professional barcode or $100 for an attention-grabbing cover. However, when I started, I used free options. At the time, I was a single mom, so I literally couldn't afford it. Then, as my books started making money, I started investing that back in myself through my book. Also, an important thing to remember, you have not because you ask not. Stop being afraid to ask for help. Whether you ask your friends for help with the editing process or you ask an investor to help you financially, you don't have the help you need because you're not asking for it. Believe it or not, you have people in your corner who would be willing to help if you just ask them. Just because you can do this for free does not mean that you should. I put a huge emphasis and caution sign right here because I need you to understand, just because you can do this for free does not mean that you should. Whatever you don't pay for now, you will pay for later. If you have to skip a few takeout meals, turn down a few gatherings, or force yourself to save a few bucks from each check, do it. In the end, you are going to put in a lot of work to finish this, so don't cheat yourself in this process. If you are seriously scared about investing your money in yourself, how can you expect someone else to do it willingly for you? Believe that every penny you spend in this process is going to come back to you. I'm walking away from the text real quick because I need you to get this. No one is going to believe in this process for you. Think about it for a second. Hopefully it makes sense. I hope it does. But nobody is going to get you through this process by believing that you can do it. You have to be the biggest believer that you can do it. And what better way to do that than to put your money where your mouth is? If you think you have a story worth telling, pay to tell it. Like, come on. If it really means this much to you, if you have to spend so much of your time talking about it, that's because there's a real desire in your heart and you're given the stuff that you need, the resources that you need to complete it. So if you're holding on to that money or whatever the case may be to stop from telling that story, you're just contributing to whatever is driving you crazy or whatever lie you're willing to believe about yourself. Stop playing yourself. Don't do it no more. Okay, let's get back to work. During this process, you're going to see 6 areas where costs can come into play. They are book cover design, book formatting, book editing, your ISBN number, which is the International Standard Book Number. This is a 13-digit number that identifies books published internationally. It usually appears on the copyright page and on the barcode of a book. Marketing is another area, and copywriting. Now, I want to take some time to go into some facts here. The best part of being able to publish your book for free is that you can create an avenue of income without coming out of pocket. That is the only benefit here. This is why I keep telling you that just because you can does not mean that you should. For example, if you choose to avoid paying to copyright your book, this can really hurt you in the long run. What if your book blows up? What if someone steals your work and then publishes it like it's their own? You will have no way to prove in court that your work is, in fact, your work. Don't do that to yourself. Also, if you plan to have your book in bookstores, most stores want you to have your ISBN number on the barcode. This means the free option provided through self-publishing portals will not be enough. I really hope I'm getting it into your head that you should do whatever is necessary to help you with investing in yourself. The final point I want to drive into here is that we have all heard the saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. However, I want to tell you that everyone does it. Honestly, I've had readers reach out to tell me that the only reason they clicked on my book and purchased it was because of my cover. I've used services like Fiverr to help find artists to help me with formatting my cover or the contents of my pages, and I've paid less for that than I did treating my family out for one dinner. If you need more tips on this topic, I recommend that you watch my YouTube video on this link. So I am going to include the link however you are seeing this. I am going to include the links to this so that you can go back and find it. Otherwise, if you downloaded it to your device, you should be able to just click on those links. Or you can just go to katie.com/blog. That'll take you to my blog post. You'll be able to see all of the videos and blog posts that I've done about each of these topics. So that way you can get all of the help that you need in whatever specific area that has been holding you back. Alrighty now, so we're just going to go ahead and jump on down to the next page where it says you can publish your book for free. Seriously, has money been the lie that has been holding you back through this process? Well, as mentioned before, you can do it for free, but that doesn't mean that you should. What are some changes you can make in your life to help make investing in yourself easier? If you need more help for tips or ideas, again, you can go to the link in the downloadable copy that you downloaded, or just go to my blog. But anyway, take some time, fill this in, and discover what those changes were. Like I said, for me, it was taking the time to actually create a budget. I downloaded one of those apps where you put in your information, like your bank stuff or whatever, and they keep track of everything and they format it for you and they, just track where everything was. And I started to see how much money I spent on, being able to afford eating out for my daughter. So many times you might think of like, oh, it's only like $1 cheeseburger or $1 this. But that adds up if you do it enough, And so when I saw how much money was being spent there, I said, okay, I can afford a cover if I actually, really just dug deep and said, sis, you got food at home. If I did that to myself, I'd be able to afford the things I need. So take some time, figure out what those lies are that are holding you back, where you're saying, I can't afford to do this, because I promise you that if you take some time and you really think about what your actual goals in life are, you may not be living them. So what's hurting you? You haven't tried anything different. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's go ahead and try really investing in ourselves, believing in ourselves, and making the strides. When like I said, being a single mom, I had no choice. If I'm putting my money into this, I'm going to get it back. I need to get it back, So you have to make that decision for yourself and ultimately decide how much you actually believe the stuff that you're telling people when you tell them about how good your story is. I want to write a book, but I don't have the time. Listen, if anyone feels you on this topic, it is definitely me. When I started my career in writing, I was working full-time. I was a full-time student, and I was a single mom with a young child. There were days when 24 hours did not seem like enough time to do everything I needed to do, much less add anything else to it. However, the only reason I share this information as a published writer today is because I made time to make my dreams come true. In the beginning, all I could commit to was 1 page a day. Faithfully, I did this every single day until I found a rhythm that worked for me. As I got closer to the end of my novel, I would stay awake after she fell asleep to work. I would write during my lunch break and every single break I had. I also had a few days where I would wake up before the sun to put in a little extra work. In order to finish this, you are going to have to change something you do every single day. Instead of watching 2 hours of Netflix every day, cut it down to 1 and use the other hour to write. If you, like me, spend a lot of time playing video games, then use that as a system to reward yourself for following through with completing your work. Whenever I'm in writer mode, I can only pick up that controller to play when I've completed my assigned work for that day. Long story short, the only way to get this done is to put in the work. You got to put in the work. Hey, put in the work. The only difference between us is that I felt the urge you are feeling, and I worked hard until my book was done. That's it. Now it's your turn. If you seriously do not have the time to work on writing your book, then you should consider hiring a ghostwriter. This is a great way to tell your story without having to change up anything that you're doing. If you choose to go this route, make sure you spend time interviewing potential candidates. After all, you are trusting this person with your vision and your story. Make sure they have a good understanding of what you need so you don't make this process harder than it needs to be. Also, consider the length of your book, as hiring a ghostwriter can add up very quickly. If you are interested in hiring a ghostwriter, check out my company's website for more information, lexiconpresents.com. I'll also include the link wherever I'm putting links. Or again, you've got that little downloadable workbook there. You should be able to just click on that link and it'll take you to where you can get some assistance with that. So long story short, no matter what area this is for you. So like if you were like me, where you had a million hats you had to wear, or let's just say, you've got other things too. You've got a company, you've got more kids, you've got a church you're running, you've got an organization you're running, other things, helping your community, activism, whatever else is holding you back, or whatever else, that you're doing in your purpose, or that you're doing and that you're walking out in life, should not hold you back from that part of you that desires to write a book. So there's always a resource here for this one. And ultimately it's going to be changing something that you're doing every single day to create the time, or paying up. Again, investing in yourself. So this is where you have to make the decision that ultimately sets you up for success. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead on to the next page that's there in big bold letters. If you don't have the time to write, you're going to have to create the time, in parentheses, for real. Unlike a lot of other excuses, this one is going to boil down to how much do you want this? What are some changes you can make in your everyday routine to create time to write? If you need help with this, again, you can go to that link, go to my YouTube. I've got a whole playlist together to make this easy for you. And then I also have my blog, katie.com/blog, that you're able to go to be able to see all of this. I'll say it again, just because, sometimes people may not have heard it the first time. So we just want to make sure everybody knows where you can find that information. So I need you to take the time, and if you don't print out, any other page, this is going to be one of those pages that I highly recommend you to do if this is your area where you've been believing this lie that 24 hours in a day is not enough for you to do what you want to do, what you need to do, and this. So I need you to print this out and really think of some things that you can do. It could be cutting out the Netflix time. It could be, something as simple as taking one of your breaks and dedicating that time to writing. Every minute counts when it's time to do this, as long as you're intentional with it. So as long as you've got your plan outlined on what you're doing, there may be days where, on your break that you start writing on chapter 13, even though chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 aren't done yet. But if you've got chapter 13 planned out, it's no harm, no foul to go ahead and start that process. And so that's why we're just wanting to identify any area or any time that you can dedicate to that. So go ahead, take your pen to that piece of paper, and you're going to fill in some little changes you can do every single day. You can fit 30 minutes into your day to do this. It is not a long period of time for you. You can fit 30 minutes. You can fit one page. You can fit something. So don't play with me. Don't play with yourself. You can find some time. So figure out how you're going to do that and write it on this piece of paper. You hear me? I want to write a book, but I don't have the knowledge. I know firsthand just how crippling this excuse can be. There were times when I was afraid to do anything because of the mistakes I had already made throughout the process, but I didn't let that stop me. Because I was determined to finish Charge It to the Game, I invested a lot of time in getting the knowledge I needed to self-publish my book. I spent countless hours a week in the library reading various books. Over the years, I've invested thousands of dollars to attend conferences and seminars, and I've signed up for almost every webinar that popped up on my social media feed. Seriously, y'all. And I hate it every time I log into a certain email account. While it did cost me a lot of time and money, it has undoubtedly been worth it. As a matter of fact, because I've created a business in this industry, I have to keep up with the changes and new information that comes out all the time. I know that this can be hard for you when you have a busy schedule and other humans to take care of, but you must be willing to do the work. It comes down to the work. If you know you cannot do it, then I suggest hiring a coach. Author coaches are great at helping you stay focused and motivated, but they are also an excellent source of knowledge. If you feel like a coach isn't in your budget right now, then don't sweat it. There are a lot of coaches out there that will allow you to pay them for an hour or half an hour of their time. Generate a list of questions and then use that time with the coach to get the answers you need to move forward. The information is out there. You just got to go get it. Put in the work. Put in the work. You got to put in the work. All right. Do you feel the information that you are lacking is in an area of how you write or quality of book? Well, don't worry. I'm currently in the process of writing content specifically for you. Yes, for you. Please head over to my website. Y'all already know the link, katie.com. Join the mailing list. If you got this book, that means you already are a part of it. So you're halfway there. Either way, just make sure I have your information so that as that course is generated and when it becomes available, you are one of the first people to know about it. So that way you have even more of the knowledge and the resources that you feel you may not have. I'm trying to get it to y'all. I really am. Like I said, I've been in every category in this book that I've described here. So I know firsthand, and I want to help make it as easy as possible for y'all to get this done. Because like I said, I'll keep saying it, writing a book is not easy. Publishing a book, if you choose to do it yourself, is not easy. So it does make it a lot easier when you do have information and a team behind you to be able to help you. So just know that no matter what, even if somebody said, oh girl, you can't write that book, or oh brother, you can't do it, or whoever said whatever, even if they tried to, be a little shady and said it in a different language and it sounded so pretty, but it was still hurtful to your feelings, like you really felt like you couldn't do it. No matter what, comes your way, I really want you to know that you have someone on your side, and that person is me. I'm always going to be here to hopefully be a pillar of information or knowledge or whatever it is that y'all feel like y'all need, motivation, kicking the butt, kicking the gut, whatever we need to do to get you moving. I'm here to help you through this process. So don't believe the lies about yourself. Don't believe what they say, because they don't know nothing. We're going to have them looking silly in a minute when this is all finished. So just keep pushing. Okay. I know sometimes it's easier to just press the stop button or to quit or to say, I don't need this, but you've been lying to yourself long enough. Let's keep going. All right. Jumping down to the next page. It says the information is out there. You just have to go get it. Get to work. There's that dirty word again. Work. Hey, you gotta work. Hey, you gotta work. Hey, work it. For real though. If you had a chance to ask an expert in this field questions, what would you ask? Once you have your list of questions, spend some time on YouTube trying to find answers. If you cannot find anything, would you be willing to spend a little now for access to a person who can answer all of those questions? And then there's some more links, information. Again, my blog, you can go to YouTube. I got a whole list for y'all, playlist, whatever. But again, I need you to take some time to figure out where you're really stuck at. If you feel like you're missing some information or you feel like you're missing some knowledge, is it just like, what is it? Help me, help you, right? Because I often will ask you guys, hey, what's an area that you're struggling with? Let me know so that I can give you some more information or motivation behind that process. So really take some time to figure out, what's been holding you back and answer those or look those questions up. And then again, if you cannot find them, ask yourself how much you believe in you. I'm going to let you ponder on that for a second. I want to write a book, but I don't have the resources. If this is your excuse, I suggest that you really focus on, I want to write a book, but I don't have the time. Also, you'll want to pay attention to, I want to write a book, but I don't have the resources. Chances are, whatever your issue is can be found within those areas. However, I keep this as its own category because a lot of people treat it like it's its own category. Ultimately, it breaks down to this: you have not because you ask not. There are plenty of people out there who are willing to help you. Before I had the money to hire a professional editor on my team, I used my school's English department. One day, I built up the courage to go ask the young student tutor to help me with my book. While she didn't have to help me, she eagerly accepted because she thought it would be a cool thing to put down on her resume. In the end, I wrote a letter of recommendation, something that only took me a few minutes to do, and she saved me hundreds of dollars. Whatever you think you need, I'm sure you have someone in your corner that can help. Have you considered asking your social media following for only $1 to help you with your goal? Do you have any friends that may be able to barter with? Have you tried a GoFundMe to raise any money, to hire a coach or a ghostwriter? If you took the time to skim through your social media accounts, I'm sure you have someone, anyone, you can ask for help. This is not the time to let your pride hold you back from everything that is in front of you. One thing I've learned in my entire writing career is that there are some people who will support you just because they truly believe in you. Use this to your advantage. My team consists of people that were willing to work with me when I had nothing to offer because they knew that would not always be the case. Do not expect freebies and handouts. Do not let the fear of rejection stop you from asking for help. Remember, someone out there is doing more than you with less than you have. Stop being afraid to use your current resources. Again, I ran y'all that link. Stop playing around. Go down to it, okay? So again, on the next page, we see there, it says, someone out there is doing more than you with less than you. Do not be afraid to ask for help. What do you feel is holding you back? Do you have someone around you that you can ask for help? And don't think of some of the obvious things here. Sometimes we'll see a question like, if you needed help, who can you ask? And we may think our parents or our best friends or, as you get older and, depending on whatever bracket of life you may be in, you may have sorority friends that you may be able to reach out to or, business associates or whoever, that you may be able to reach out and ask for help, because sometimes what we feel like we are really needing is available to us. And it's just kind of a step on that journey, if you will, to get us there, to open us up, to give us the tools and the access and the resources and the relationships that we need to have to take us to this next level of success. That's why sometimes the things that you feel you need are buried deeply within other people. And so if you are not taking that time to go and ask or let other people know you're struggling for help, you're never going to get it. What you need is right around you. What you need is within you already. I'm telling you, I want to keep bringing this home to you because I really want you to get this. When you really start to see yourself in a different light and you start to see your situation in a different light as well, it really just kind of helps propel you into this version of yourself that you are very capable of being, although right now we've just got some excuses in the way. Okay. But we're on our way there. And so that's just the most important part. Take some time to write this in, to fill this in, and really be honest with yourself. Who has your back? Who can you go and ask for help? What is something that you can do to make you a little bit uncomfortable, but that's going to ultimately set you up to be more comfortable in life, if you know what I'm saying? Just take some time, be honest with yourself, and get that filled in. Oh, y'all, we finna get into my favorite chapter. Before we get into it, I just really want to talk about this real quick because some of y'all may be dealing with pride issues like I dealt with pride issues. And so you might be saying, I'm not scared. I ain't never scared. First of all, who they finna try? Who you finna try? Not I got this. No, I feel you. I was someone who really felt like I was not dealing with the issue of being afraid or dealing with that feeling of fear, but it disguises itself in so many different ways that it doesn't really look like, oh, I'm scared, but ultimately it does. So if none of those other topics have really fit the category of where you feel that you're in, I promise you, anything else is going to be right underneath this umbrella. And it sounds crazy, right? It really sounds crazy, but I promise you it fits right in this umbrella. So I need you to stay focused with me through this chapter, because if this is an area that you are dealing with now, I promise you it doesn't go away. I'm strong in this writing game. I've got books that have not even been released yet. And I always feel the fear when it's time to start it, when it's time to say the end and put that last period on it, when it's time to send it off, because there's a lot of stuff that you're doing through this process. So there's a lot of areas where this thing creeps itself into your life. And so if it's present in one area, you can almost guarantee it's showing up in other areas as well. It just disguises itself so nicely. So please, stay focused with me through this process, because I really want to give you all the tools that you need, which ultimately the biggest tool is to believe in you, boo. But I really want to help you through this process because, like I said, every now and then, and if we're being completely honest, it's almost every time I go to click on something, that thought kind of runs through my mind. And I've gotten better at the process. I've gotten stronger at the process of not believing the lies, but they still try you every now and again. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got kids, you might set a rule and say, this is just what it is. But every now and again, it's going to come around and be like, hold on, you changed your boundary yet? That's how fear works. So let's get into this chapter. Let's really focus and let's really be honest with ourselves in this moment. I want to write a book, but I'm scared. Before starting this, I want you to stop what you're doing. Isn't that crazy? I didn't read this before I started, but let's keep going. Before starting this, I want you to stop what you're doing and watch my video on this subject. The reason for this is because this excuse never looks like fear. What I tell y'all, you'll honestly think that you are just being rational or practical, when in reality, you are moving from a place of disbelief, which ultimately is because you are moving out of fear. Again, there it drops the link. That is a video I highly recommend if you're just needing a kick in the butt, kick in the gut, get you jump started going, whatever. But I highly recommend watching that video. But anyway, let's keep going. Writing a book isn't easy, so I get it. It's hard to leave yourself open to fail or be criticized, but fear can be debilitating only if you allow it. That's right. You got a choice. You got a choice. Hey, you got a choice. You got a choice. When I decided to write a book, it's like every fear came to the forefront of my thoughts. Then some of them would manifest itself into my reality by causing problems through the journey. I remember when my laptop was hanging on to dear life. I didn't know about the importance of having my files backed up somewhere else. I think I cried for almost a week as I lost pages of work that I would never be able to recover. At that moment, my mind tried to tell me that this was a sign from up above that my entire project was going to fail, baby. Luckily for me, I had built a solid support system that reminded me that things come into our lives to test us. Sure, I was upset about my lost pages, but I had learned a valuable lesson early on, and it made me a smarter businesswoman because of it. When you decide to tread this journey, understand that things are going to happen to you just to test you, but there is nothing to be afraid of. Yes, a ton of things can and may go wrong first, but my dear, I want you to take a moment to envision the possibilities if things were to really go in your favor. Now, if you keep going down below, you'll see that there are some things that we believe about whatever the situation may be. But overall and ultimately, it's fear. So I want to write a book, but no one's going to read it. Everyone is doing it. That's another one. That's one of the lies I believed. Once your circle starts to be doing something similar to you, right? So like my circle, a lot of us invest. Right? So it looks like, oh, everybody's investing. But when you look at the numbers, that may not be the case, because I write. A lot of the people I surround myself with are writers, the people that you meet at conferences, the people who do these webinars, these seminars, the people that you meet and the relationships that are built from doing that. So it'll start to seem like everyone around you is doing it. But what if your book, like using the example we used in the beginning, was just that you're the greatest, balloon animal maker there is. And so, yes, a lot of people are writing books, but no one can write the book that you need to read or write to get to your audience that you're there to have a story for. So just realize that anything that you tell yourself, even something as simple like, I want to write a book, but it's only going to be like 50 pages, like quick, simple, to the point. And like, in those 50 pages, you're trying to write your life story. Sis, no, not gonna work. You're gonna be cheating your audience and yourself. Trust me, I know. I've been there, done that. When I released The Chronicles of a Love Addict, I even put it in the book when I re-released it, that, when a woman came up to me crying, And, she was just really feeling the poetry in those pages. And I realized I cheated her by keeping my story so short and direct and to the point, and feeling like no one was going to read it if I really put it out there like it should have been put out there in the first place. And so even telling yourself that you're going to tell your autobiography in like 50 stories is playing yourself. Okay, you're literally lying to yourself. And that's an area where fear is working just in a way that's opposite how you would expect it to look. Okay, so here I intentionally did not leave a page for you to write down those lies, because why would we do that? We don't need to entertain them anymore. But I do want you to spend some time and really see how something that you might have believed may fall under this category. Because like I said, it's a little trickster. It's a little tricky one that sneaks in and doesn't look like how we anticipate it to look, but it is ultimately what it is. So, just take that time and ponder on it. Do not write it down, because we don't want to entertain it any longer than we have. So now let's jump into the next page. Which is titled Why. I can't stress this enough. You have to understand why you are doing this to commit yourself to this process. There are going to be rough days ahead of you. You're going to want to quit. You're going to second guess your entire thought process as you wonder how you allowed yourself to even start this in the first place. Because of this, I begin every project by understanding my why. When I first decided that I wanted to write a book, I was struggling to live the kind of life I wanted to provide for my daughter. I started performing my spoken word poetry at different events throughout the dope art scene in Orlando, Florida. I really enjoyed doing it, and it gave me an extra flow of cash every single week. While that money gave me a lot more freedom, I knew I was leaving money on the table by not offering more. I published my first collection of poems under the name The Chronicles of a Love Addict. I later went on to rewrite and relaunch it under the same title. Not only did I add to the amount of money I was making per show, but I also booked other events because of it. During that time in my life, my why was simple. I wanted to survive and provide my kid with the kind of lifestyle my parents worked hard for me to have. Once I established this, I wrote it out on my bathroom mirror with the title of my book right next to it. I started and ended my day seeing my way out of my current situation. Just having those words in plain sight gave me the vision and strength I needed on those days when I wanted to quit. I need you to do the same thing. Why are you doing this? Why is telling this story so important to you? Why now? Why? Seriously ponder on that question, because you will need that motivation throughout this process. Throughout the rest of this book, you'll find that I will bring you back to this question a few times. So jump down to the next page. Why is finishing this book important to you? Dig down deep for your answer. Do you think your story has the power to help others? Are you tired of your current financial situation? Are you doing this to build your business? What is your why? Some people are only writing a book because they're just generating more traffic for themselves, right? So, for example, me giving you this free book in exchange for your email, I've left, a potential avenue to be able to communicate with you in the future, right? I know that this is something that you want to do. Some people may do this just for that reason. Then you also have people that'll say, hey, I see a problem and I want to present a solution, and I want to help other people who may be struggling with an addiction or something that I've overcome, or anything that you feel like you may be able to offer someone. So that might be your why. You may be in the situation I was in, where I knew that there was more out there because I lived it, but I just couldn't afford to give it to my daughter because of, some choices that I had made along the way. But I knew I had within me the power to create another avenue of income. So dig down deep. Don't let it be some surface level answer. Dig down deeply inside of yourself and ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is going to motivate you to keep going? Is it going to be the young girls or the young men that are going to be impacted by your resilience and dedication to just make it through life and to push past difficult moments? What is it? What is your why? Dig down deep. Write this down. This is the ultimate page that if you don't print out any other page, baby, I need you to print out this one. Matter of fact, you could make it a whole poster board. Baby, if you got Dry erase marker, do what I did, put it on your wall. You ain't got no dry erase marker, baby. If you got some lipstick, you could put it on there, put your Y, whatever, something, get it in your face. Don't let that Y escape you, because that's what's going to hold you tight on those days. That sounded so romantic. It's going to hold you tight. No, but seriously, it's going to hold you tight on those days when you want to quit. Y'all, we're going back to my favorite quote. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I'll say it again because I like to double down on that one. But if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You sure do. I drive my clients crazy with this quote because I say it all the time. Aren't you guys tired of it yet? Anyway, before we dive deep into this, I'm going to say another quote that my kids are certainly tired of hearing. You are free to do whatever you want. The consequences cost extra. Don't want to follow my advice? Don't want to listen to my suggestion? Then don't. I promise you that you are not hurting my feelings. The only person you are hurting or holding back is yourself. So don't play yourself. I'm already living my dream of being a published author. Insert some sort of petty face emoji here. Sorry, y'all. I am working to be a better person, but every now and again, it just slips out there. So I did have a petty moment, but if you want to call it #petty with a purpose, there it goes. But I need y'all to insert some sort of petty face here. Anyway, you picked up this book for a reason. Then you proceeded to allow me to talk reckless to you as I brought your mama into this. So don't start acting funny with me now. I guess I told y'all. My goal is to get you writing by the time you put this book down. I can only do that if you reach down and give me more than you've given every other time you started. This time, you are not alone, and you have advice. Da, 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 da. In the next chapter, we're going to create a plan for you, and you're going to do it. I'm pausing here intentionally because I need you to know that you're going to do it. Okay, this time you are going to succeed. You will accomplish this goal simply because I said so. And now you believe it. So now you kind of have to do it. Whenever I start working with a client, I always ask them who, what, when, where, how, why. Over the next few pages, you'll get a breakdown of why these questions are asked and an opportunity to answer them for yourself. So jumping down to the next page, we're dealing with what. What type of book are you writing? Are you creating a large novel or series, or a free book to gain a list of potential customers, kind of like we just talked about? Knowing this early on helps plan for the next steps. Oh, before I forget, it is okay what you're working on. It is okay if what you're working on doesn't fit into a box. Don't spend hours Googling for answers that you have within yourself. When I wrote Somewhere Between Love and Misunderstanding, I second-guessed myself so much because I had never written a play. My searches on the internet took me down a rabbit hole that just wasted time. Remember, if you need guidance, you can hire a coach to help you out. Don't get stuck. Keep pushing forward. So take a little bit of time and figure out, what kind of book are you writing? Is this just going to be something that's free just to bring in clients to you, so you already kind of have your own funnel or lead that you can go through because people who want the information are coming to you? Is this going to be something that you, like we discussed before, I dealt with a lot of emotional stuff, and I decided to write a book to cover it. I'm still going through therapy for certain things, right? And so I'm always learning. And so that's why my books are always just a way that I can kind of get some of that stuff that's inside of me out so that it doesn't fester up and drive me crazy. So take some time and figure out, what kind of book are you writing? Once you're done with that, we're going to jump on down to the next page, which is titled When. Enough is enough. Pick a date. You've had enough time to talk about it, so now it's time to do it. Go get your calendar and select the final deadline for your project. Be reasonable, but push yourself. When I was working on my first project, I set a date for a year out. Now, I don't take that long to work on a book, but that was reasonable for me at the time. Listen, don't play yourself. I'm going to keep telling y'all over again. Don't play yourself, okay? Because honestly, writing a book is not easy. So don't start this process if you've never written a book. You're not going to do it with a coach. You're going to do this by yourself. You're not going to invest in it and then just say, I'm going to do this in 30 days. You're going to drive yourself crazy in the process. And chances are, if you've got a family that you're responsible for, you're going to drive them crazy in the process. And they're going to drive you crazy because you've set some unrealistic goal on yourself. So don't do it. If this is your first time, be realistic. Depending on the type of book you're writing, 6 months may not be unreasonable. When I'm ready to commit, I can finish a book in 60 days, 90 days. That's not unreasonable for me to do a full book. But I've been doing this for years. Give yourself some room. Give yourself some room to make errors or to make some mistakes. Okay. Like I said, just pick a date. Once you have it, write it down. If you're really about that life, start promoting that date. Ooh, is you about that life? Is you about it? Is you about it? Is you about that life? Yeah, pick that date. Tell your friends so they can tell their friends and they can tell their family members. And then that way you have people to hold you accountable throughout this process. Because if you say, hey, I'm going to release a book by January 1st, and then you have people asking about it, because trust me, when I go for a period of time and my readers don't hear anything about Tamia Santiago or Kyle Cole and I charge it to the game series, they let me know. Like, sis, what's up? Where's the book? So definitely if you are tired of just lying to yourself, this is a great opportunity to prove it. Pick a date and start promoting it. So anyway, take this time to write out your when. What's that date going to be? Alrighty then, once you have that, let's go on down to the next page titled How. How do you plan to make your deadline? While I'm proud of you for setting a day, that was the easy part. Now I need you to do the work. You got to put in work, that dirty word, work, put in the work, put in the work. Hey, yay. Do you get the point yet? Hey, you got to work. Hey, do you get the point yet? Hey, you got to work. Okay. Let me get back to work. One thing I tell my clients and my kids over and over is, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. How many times have I said that to you guys at this point? If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. I'm about to put that in a rap. I don't know why. I think it's just being behind this microphone that is letting me forget myself for a moment and think that I'm a musician when that's not the case. Anyway, to me, not having a plan on how you want to move is like taking a road trip without a GPS or map. You wouldn't take a long journey without a road map. Don't do this like that either. Don't play yourself. When I did my first book, I decided I was going to write a page a day. That was how I planned to accomplish my book. Figure out a schedule that works for you, that will allow you to meet your deadline. Once you have your answer, write it down. You can start at a page a day. You can do half a page a day, whatever. I remember that there were times when I would go on break and I forgot my workbook that I was working in at that time, or my notebook, and I would use receipts. I would use napkins. After a while, it got less to do with just one page and dedicating time. So maybe that time was 30 minutes, or my lunch breaks at work, or the time between school and work, or the time, when, my daughter was maybe winding down. I'd sometimes finish a little bit before her eating dinner. And while she was still doing whatever, I was just jotting down on a small piece of paper, figuring that time in your schedule. Figure it out. Be real with yourself, okay? Don't play yourself. Be real with yourself. Write out something that you know you can commit to, and that way we can commit to doing that, okay? Once you're done there, you're going to jump on down to the next page titled Who. I find it helpful to focus on this during the writing process. Why? Well, if you plan to self-publish, you will eventually need to know this anyway. When I know this in the beginning, it allows me to market to my audience while I'm still working on it. I'll never forget about the time I walked up to someone. Oh, this is funny. I'll never forget about the time I walked up to someone to pitch him the idea of buying my book, and he responded with, "What's in it for me?" I had absolutely no idea what to tell him because I had never considered that before. Trust me, you'll feel a lot during the marketing part if you decide to self-publish. Get ahead by considering this early on and while you're working on your project. So don't, beat yourself over the head if you kind of don't have an idea. But ultimately, you know who you're writing this for, right? So like for me, when I did the Chronicles of a Love Addict, a Love Junkie's Journey from Suicidal to Saved, I was really writing for that woman who was sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like she had hit that max level. Like, I'm not doing something right. I'm going into a certain pattern of my life. I keep dating the same man. um and he just looks different every time I date him, but I'm in the same relationship. Or like how I told y'all, I was unknowingly the side chick. I went from being this woman who was engaged and cheated on to now being the woman that the man was cheating on his woman with. Like, it was just so crazy. So for me, I had to write that story for that woman to know that, no, sis, he's not gonna leave his wife. Like, yeah, you might have found out about the relationship a year later. That was my story, just being whatever. Y'all need to go check that book out, because I really put it all out there for y'all to see. But really, it's just like, I put that story out there for other women who may have been in that position in their life where they were, still living in the past in certain ways, not healing, but just, keeping themselves preoccupied and busy with new things and new people and whatever, and just finding themselves entrapped in this life that they hated to live. That's who my audience was. So every page that I wrote for that woman. I was honest with myself. I remember that there were days where there were stories, like when I talked about being raped by him. I cried. I relived that moment all over again, not because it brought me any not because it brought me any good emotions, let's just say that, but because I knew who my audience was. I needed them to know that there's nothing that you've gone through that somebody else may not be able to identify with you on. You're not alone, and don't believe his lie about whatever. I had to write it for her, and that was easier when I knew that I was writing that for that audience. It wasn't like I was just telling a story like I would tell to my friends who were there during the process. I had to really write it and put that person in my story. So take that time, focus, and, dig deep there. But don't spend a lot of time. Don't beat yourself over the head if you can't figure it out now, but definitely keep this on the forefront of your mind as we move forward. Okay, so jumping down to the next page, we are going to move down to where it's titled, Where do you plan to publish your book? Will you be self-publishing, or will you attempt the traditional route? Knowing this helps you save a lot of time later on. If you choose to publish traditionally, you'll need to submit a synopsis of your book. This gives the publisher a snapshot of your book, each chapter, and the main characters. It makes it so much easier to work on it while you're writing your book. Each publisher has their own necessities, so I would recommend checking the requirements from the publishers you want to submit your story to. Work smarter, not harder. I drive my kids crazy with that. So if for example, Lexicon Presents is the publishing house that you're wanting to see, hey, are they accepting submissions? Let me go to their submission website and see what their requirements are. So like right now, we don't have any openings, but when we usually do, we want a synopsis of the book. We want a synopsis of each chapter. We want a synopsis of your main characters. I want to be able to know everything without spending all of the time to really read your book. I'm not going to I can't take the time to really sit down and read your book if it's not something that I feel, if you can't grab me in the synopsis, you ain't gonna be able to grab me in the book. That's just what it is. So, that's why publishers have that as a requirement. So figure out what you want to do, write that down so that you know what you need to be doing. If you decide you're going the traditional route, what are some of those publishers? Look them up today, find out what their requirements are, write that down. Next, we're jumping down to the why. I know you're probably thinking, didn't we cover this already? Well, we did, but the beauty of being a published author is that this is my book and I can do what I want. Don't like it? Hashtag charge it to the game, baby. Anyway, take a minute to concentrate on why you're doing this. If you're so busy wrapped up in that idea, you'll ignore the distractions. Those incessant and annoying thoughts of self-doubt will have no room to bother you if you don't leave a lot of time to focus on them. You got this. So take the time, write down your why. Why are you doing this? We focused on this already. You're probably tired of hearing me repeat certain things, but my clients hear me like a robot, because these are the things that, I've had people tell me that they'll think about later on. They'll think about things that I've said. I know it sounds crazy when I start busting out in songs or raps or whatever, but those will be the things that, when you go to quit, you'll hear that little rap in your head, and then it might help bring back to remembrance something else I said. So I do those things with intentionality behind them, because again, it's all about success for you guys. But again, even though we've talked about this, even though you've pondered on this, even though you might have already written it down, write it down. Why is you doing this? Let's have a solution. Let's have something to combat those fears and those lies when they come. Know your why. Let it be something that's going to hold you tight, push you through the night. Hold you tight, push you through the night. Hey, got it right that time. Hey. Okay, let me stop playing with y'all. Okay, so when we get down to the next page, it's just in big. Like, I just need y'all to see it. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, darling. There's just no way around that. Do you see it in big, bold, yellow? My favorite color. It's just bold in your face. I just needed you to see it. But if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. One more time in case you didn't hear me. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Next page. Are you tired of hearing me say that yet? Oh, that's so crazy how... Anyway, are you tired of hearing me say that yet? I know I drive my clients crazy with it, but there is a method to the madness. Again, the intentionality behind my foolishness. I hope y'all appreciate it. One of the things I'm always praised for with my fictional stories is my ability to create real, well-rounded characters. While I would love to say I'm just really good, it comes from the amount of planning that I do. In the next few pages, I'm going to show you how I prepared this book. This method works whether you're writing a one-page pamphlet or the next Harry Potter series. You're probably expecting some profound planning strategy that is going to require a PhD to comprehend. So let me pop your thought bubble real quick. That was a good one. What I'm about to share with you, you've probably already seen. I learned it in the 3rd grade, and it helps me win writing awards and has helped me with everything I've ever written. Therefore, since it is not broken, I'm not changing it. All right. So what do you guys see here is just a little web that, like, you know, if you're like me, you learned it in the 3rd grade and you just put your main point there in the center and then you just, you know, proceed to fill every other little bubble around it and you just create your story that way. Anyway, that's right. We're taking it back old school with the throwback web. Now I'm going to build my web of how I built this book so you can see how to apply that with your own. So starting with step 1, whether I'm writing a fiction, poetry, or nonfiction book, I always start with the web that has the title of my book in the center bubble. Then I use the remaining bubbles to plan for my chapters. Sounds pretty simple, right? Good, because it is. Now I need you to do something for me. If you guessed, write it down, then you are one smart cookie. You don't win anything, but at least you're closer to getting this book finished. I want you to start with your web. You may not have a working title at the moment, and if you don't, that's okay. For now, stick working title here and keep it moving. Don't play yourself. Don't spend 10 hours on this. You ain't got it. Just put something in the filler and keep it moving. You are officially done with quitting because you don't have all of the pieces right now. They will be added later. So in the meantime, do your work. Put in work. Do your work. Put in work. Work. Put in the work. So yeah, anyway, if you go... I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know why. It's just... Sorry. Anyway, so as you will see there, you see Shut Up and Finish Your Book already is the center there because that is what we're talking about. That is the title. That is my working title. That's why it's there. So in the first one at 12 o'clock there, we see that there is an introduction. That was where I went and I wrote my nice little sweet letter to y'all, just letting y'all know how much I really truly believe in y'all because I do. Then we'll move down there. We see that there were questions that needed to be answered, right? That was something else. Notice how my web isn't in order of how my story went. So just because I talk about this, this is part of the planning process. You plan and you dig down a little deeper and you put things in order as they make sense. But I'm just showing you that when I did this, it still looked different than what I presented to you. So you're not setting concrete right now, right? You're just making a blueprint for yourself. So then the next thing underneath that is the planning web where I talked to you guys about what I'm talking to you now. And then we did the closing. So we basically just did a large bubble, right? So as you can see that there's a few things here that aren't even included in my web, right? So there were certain things that as I was writing, I realized needed to be added or needed to be separated in separate categories. So when I got to that area that says questions that need to be answered, I separated those into different categories. That became its own bubble. And then, in the center bubble and then everything else around it, was focused onto the different things that we discussed and talked about. And we're getting ready to get into that. I'm always jumping ahead of myself. So step 2, now that we have your whole book outlined, I'd like to take that a step further and outline the individual chapters. Now, don't let these cute webs you see here fool you. My finished web never looks this neat. That is the absolute truth, y'all. Honestly, I thought to take a picture of one of my webs so you could see for yourselves, but it would just look like a mess to you anyway. So here we are. Regardless, this is for you. Create this web without fear of judgment or failure because it is only here to help you. Don't second guess yourself throughout this process. So as you see there, we've got the questions, like I told you, and then you've got the other things around it that were just leading up to, some of the things that we talked about that was its own individual section. So moving on to step 3, now you're just going to keep going. Break down that storyline as far as you can. In fact, when I work on larger books, I will do a web for the entire book, each chapter, and all of my main characters. I literally just told you guys that. Trust me, doing this is a vital step. In my series, Charge It to the Game, I love keeping my readers guessing, so I pay attention to every tiny detail. I've had readers ask how I keep up with them, and it's so simple. I plan for all of them. Like literally, walking away from the text for a second. I love writing Charge It to the Game. It's just a really fun story to tell. It's been therapeutic for me for many years. And like I said, it's just, I love telling that story. And so it's really cool because in in book 1, someone may be the main character, but we get to book 2 and someone who seemed so just tiny and like they just didn't matter to the storyline is now, the centerfold and the center focus, for example, or other characters that you had no idea that play into this game that they're playing, rise up and different things like that. And so there's a lot that goes on in our main characters' lives and the small stories that take on in between. And so it's very easy for an author to go in and to leave something out. And the thing that sucks about this process is, if you're just starting out, you may have just told yourself, I'm going to commit a year to getting this done. Well, if you get someone like me who reads your book, I might read that in a matter of hours, what took you years to do. So it's very easy to leave a piece kind of hanging off to the side, a question unanswered. You may leave chapter 7 with this big build off of something that's going to happen and then never talk about it again and then never have, another book that you were planning on doing. And so now you've really left your reader empty, it's very easy to do that. So this is why I'm really just big on this whole planning process and this planning step. So the details for everything you want is in your planning. Don't rush or cheat yourself throughout this process because in the end, the only person you really cheat is the person who invested in your book. You'll leave them hungry, angry, and upset all at the same time. You will be glad you took this time, and they will too. I'm an author, but as a professional reader, I read books like they are going out of style, and my life depended on it. Therefore, I love supporting indie artists. But there is nothing more frustrating than reading a book and being left with questions that the author didn't remember to address at the end. I literally just said this. Don't do that to your readers, and don't take them on a wild ride with pages or worse, chapters. Of crap that has nothing to do with the overall story. Trust me, every book that I started and never finished happened because I sat at a computer with no clear direction of where I was going. Don't get in that car without your MapQuest directions. For my old heads like myself, my daughter would say, back in the olden days, you guys might have used maps, but now we just use maps on our iPhone. Yeah, anyway, don't do, regardless of whatever kind of map you're trying to use, baby, don't do that to yourself. Don't play yourself. Okay. So just make sure that you don't put them on wild goose chases, that sort of stuff. So now as you get better with this process, it won't seem so tedious. Like right now, I know it sounds annoying to plan for planning, but you got to get it done. And like I said, as you get better, this process just becomes easier. That's just how this works. And I said it again, because in the end, writing a book never gets easier. You just get better. And then as we go to the next page, apparently I really thought that you really needed to get this message because I said it and then I read it and then now I'm reading it again. Writing a book never gets easier. You just get better. Okay. It's always going to take a considerable amount of time out of your life to plan, to write, to edit, to re-edit, to re-edit, to re-edit, to re-edit, to re-edit. Did I mention? To re-edit? Like, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff here. So again, the process itself, you can't reinvent that wheel. There's just a certain thing that needs to be done to write your book. But at least, like I said, you get stronger. That muscle memory kicks in and you just continue to keep pushing when you would have quit before. All right, y'all, we are in the home stretch, which is good because when I tell y'all this has been a madhouse recording this for y'all with my kids in the background. I am surprised we have made it this far. Can I get a round of applause for myself and for my kids for making it this far without any distractions? We've earned it. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's get to work. You've done it. At this point, you've planned your book, focused on your why, and you have a roadmap to accomplish your goals. I'm super proud of you for making it this far. I know I tried your gangster throughout this process, but it was all to get you to this place. Anyway, I've given you the keys that have helped myself and so many authors that I've coached, but I also want to share a few small tips before I let you go. Before we get into them, I just want to take this time to say I'm sorry for talking about your mama. I grew up knowing that your mama was fighting words, so I knew I was wrong bringing her into this. Either way, we're here now, and you're about to be a published author soon if you keep up with this momentum. So it's all water under the bridge, right? Good. Regardless of how you feel, I'm confident that you can and will do this, but I need you to believe that. Once you're done, please let me know how this has worked for you. Reach out to me on my website, katie.com, because I would love the chance to celebrate you. Remember, you've got this. I can't wait to see your finished product. Now get to work. Hey, work, put in the work. Anyway, extra tips. Get a support system. In life, you can't do anything alone. Whether you want to believe it or not, you need others to help. That is the same with writing a book. Thanks to social media, there are so many places where you can find others to help you through this process. There are tons of writing groups online that you can use to encourage you. Do not do this alone. I'm telling you guys, even as a published author myself, I am a part of tons of groups online. Some that are small ones that I just kind of do through Messenger with other people. And then I do as well have those private groups that, other writers use and they encourage each other or they share some of their sales goals and, you'll see some crazy figures and then that'll just push you to do even more than you thought you could do. So definitely build your support system up. I cannot stress this enough. I was able to do this luckily for myself because I've surrounded myself with people who have gotten tired of me saying I was going to write a book. And when I finally started, they gave me the little kick in the gut, but whatever that was needed at that time to get me going. So you need that, and not that they're not out there for you. Sometimes, you might have some people for real that really just don't believe in you. Maybe you've surrounded yourself with people who are just low-key haters, whatever. There are still avenues for you. You can still hire a coach. You can still go and create your own group, do a AA, but authors anonymous or something hey, we want to be authors, but we just love our excuses. I don't know, but create your own group, create your own lane, put people around you who want to see you succeed. The next thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. In the beginning of my career, I honestly did not have a large budget. As a matter of fact, it was almost non-existent. Don't be afraid to ask for help. However, I didn't let that stop me. I didn't allow pride to stop me from asking for help. I asked tutors at my college to edit, and they did. I asked friends to help me promote my books and book gigs, and they did. Now, you're not always going to get a yes, but you can't let every no discourage you either. Whoever doesn't get the picture you're trying to paint, it's okay. They're not a part of the vision, baby, but it's a numbers game. If you don't ask, you don't get a no. Any question you don't ask is always going to be no. So you're just going to accept a no when their answer could be yes? That don't even make sense. Make it make sense to me. Anyway, spend some time focusing on your why. I had you answer those questions for a reason. Don't just put that list somewhere. Pull it out every single day and intentionally visualize yourself accomplishing this goal. For me, I gave myself a reward for publishing my first book, and it really helped me. I got a tattoo of the word dreamer on my left hand on my thumb. So that was my reward for myself. At the time, I just loved getting tattoos, and I said, I will not get another tattoo until this book is done. And I left myself with a tattoo that is a constant reminder that when I really believe in myself and I really put my feet to the pavement, I'm going to get it done. So I see that word dreamer on my left hand. And when I tell y'all, that is motivation enough to let me know that nothing can stop me. What's 80,000 words? Sis, we did it. We put it in the book, we published it, and I got my reward, if you will, for doing that. So, definitely spend some time focusing on your why. Like I mentioned here, it's my favorite tattoo for that reason. Therefore, if it makes it easier for you, attach this to a major reward for you so you have another incentive to help push you towards your goal. Sometimes just being a published author just isn't going to be enough. Sometimes you just need to do another little boost for yourself. Don't listen to those incessant thoughts that tell you that you cannot do this. At times, we can be our own worst enemy. Those thoughts are going to come up, but you cannot give them power anymore. In fact, I want you to start talking back to them. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy. I know it. But hear me out. When your mind tells you you can't do this, I want you to speak positivity over yourself. Tell yourself, I can do all things. Speak the positivity and believe it. Don't let those toxic thoughts drive you crazy. Don't let that thought pop up and tell you that you cannot write a book. You need to remind yourself that regardless of why you believe that you cannot write a book, maybe it's you're a terrible speller. Guess what? I might be your favorite author, and I am terrible at spelling. Sometimes I have to ask my 9-year-old. She's very intelligent, by the way. She's very beyond her years in terms of reading level is concerned. But sometimes I'll have to ask her, and, thank God for electronic devices. That's okay. That didn't stop me from saying that I couldn't write. That didn't stop me from saying that I couldn't enjoy reading just because my spelling isn't always 100%. Don't give in to those lies. So when that lie pops up, like, sis, how you gonna write a book, but you can't even spell? That's okay. Siri can tell me how to spell, and I'm intelligent enough that I will know if a word looks wrong, whatever. I'm just, however that needs to sound to you, or maybe this becomes a time when you need to invest in yourself and let somebody else speak positively over you, because that is the benefit that you also get with having a coach, is just being able to say, because there's a day, there comes a day, right, where you're going to be wounded. You may be weak in this battle of putting these words on this paper together, and you may just need somebody to speak that positivity over you. So that's just basically what I need you to understand, is that, don't go into this alone. Don't buy the lies that you bought anymore. Put that piece of paper in front of you. Compile that list on a board if you really want to get serious about yourself, and keep it in one place, a place that you see all the time. Maybe it's the wall leading out to your bedroom so that you never miss it, or something, right? And then the final tip I gave you there is don't quit. Don't quit. Please don't quit. Please don't quit. Y'all took me to song. Like I dug deep for that for y'all. So if I ain't do nothing else, I dug deep on that one for y'all. Okay. Now, in order to do this, you must change. Can you believe people pay me to be this way with them? But anyway, in order to do this, you must change something about the way you move every single day. It's so easy to say, I have writer's block, or I don't have time today. But if you have enough of those kind of days, you'll make a new pattern of excuses. Don't do that. Writer's block is real, and my combat for that is to read. When I feel like I can't write a word, I grab a book in my genre and allow a fellow writer to motivate me. If I still feel the same the next day, I force myself to write, and I alternate between writing and reading until I feel inspired again. Either way, you've got this. Don't allow a single excuse to hold you back anymore. And then if you go down to the next page, it just shows you different ways that you can keep up with Katie. That's me. So y'all can definitely always find me on my website. I've been doing this thing long, strong for years now. You can find me on my website. You can find me on my Instagram or TikTok at AKA Words. Chances are, though, if you find me on TikTok, it's my 9-year-old. So deal with it. And then you guys can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Katie. Make sure to follow me, because I'm always trying to give away freebies. Sometimes I give away coaching. Sometimes I give away free coaching sessions. Sometimes I give away just an opportunity to ask questions, or I'll ask you guys questions like, hey, what's an area that you need help in? Because we all need help, right? We talked about that. So I'm glad that I was able to put this together for you guys and go through this with you. So as promised, what you are going to be seeing in this next slide, I know I probably made y'all a little lazy with me reading to y'all, but that stops now. You guys are going to do some reading for some inspiration here. And so what I want you to do is I am going to give you a little bit of homework here. I have taken a story. It's a short story that I wrote in my book, and I've released in one of my books. And so it's a short story. I want you to read it, and then I want you to take the time to, if you were working backwards to plan that story, what would that have looked like? And then I'm going to just generate those images for you. So make sure if it's moving too fast, you just pause it. You can see it. I really want you guys to get the information, to get the point of planning, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave a blank one there for you guys to fill it out. And then I'm going to plan it so that you guys see how I would have done it. And then you could take the time to compare. If you notice a huge difference between your web and mine, please hit me up. You know, I offer sale packages on my author coaching all the time. So if you notice that there's a huge difference between what I planned and what your web would have looked like, then maybe we need to have a conversation, okay? So hit me up. You can hit me up on my contact portion of my website so that I do not miss a very important message from you like that. And then I'm going to even show you a little bit deeper on how I took the time to do that with my main character. I didn't go into all of those characters that were a part of that main story there, but I do at least want to do the main character so you get an idea of how, like, even if I don't necessarily mention that my character is 5'6", right, I'll do something to indicate, you know, or give that, or to paint that picture, because the whole point and purpose, I'm jumping ahead of the game, told y'all we'll get into this in another session here, but the whole point is to really put them in that space and that place. So I'm going to give you guys a little extra homework. I hope you guys take the time to do this and get serious. This is about y'all. And ultimately, you know, writing a book, if not anything else, has created a way that I have generated a stream of income. I have something that I can leave behind for my kids. I'm training up my daughter to be able to take this over from me. You know, even if something happened to me tomorrow, baby girl could know how to come in and help generate this and to keep going, whether I'm here or not, to do this. And these are the type of things that we're supposed to be doing for our kids, right? Setting the generations to follow up so it's easier for them than it was for us. And you have within you the power to do that. That's probably why this story that is sitting inside of your heart has you so desperate for answers that you're still listening to me babble, despite me talking about your mama, my terrible singing, and everything else, but you still here though. So I appreciate you for rocking with me. I appreciate you for really believing in yourself more than you ever would have. And I want you to know that I truly believe in you, but it does no good if you don't believe in you too. So I really hope that tonight you choose to dig down deep, like you've never dug deep within yourself, and you convince yourself and you speak some positivity over yourself that you can do all things, that you are a beast worth being feared of, because baby, the things that you have within you are groundbreaking, earth-shaking, just stuff that will change generation and lives to come. But you first got to push past whatever it is that is holding you back. So I cannot wait to celebrate you when you're all done with this. Make sure to tag me or comment something. Don't be afraid to just drop it down in my IG comments, like whatever date you set or whatever your reason was for your why. Let me know what you feel was the biggest thing that you learned from this so that I can celebrate y'all, because this is not easy, and I'm proud of you for even believing in yourself this far. You're a rock star. I can't wait to see what you do. Love you like you have no idea. Y'all take care.